form your own bloody opinion and then make up your own mind, right? Listen to what people are saying. Don't just listen to them because they're talking to you on a camera, because everybody's got a bloody agenda, or they're too stupid to actually see the writing for the wall and they're just parroting all the other bullshit that they're saying.
I'm kind of annoyed because every talking head, every person out there making content is not willing to say, hey, take a step back and look at what PSA is doing. And even if the term isn't conflict of interest, even if that's not what we want to throw it as, PSA has a lot of power. Just almost, someone could argue, maybe too much. So let's take a look at the top. A conflict of interest means one company or person has two roles that could pull them in opposite directions, or that should be neutral, or one that should be neutral, a third party grading, and one that makes money, one that profits. I don't know. Even if we're not going to call it a conflict of interest, which I definitely think it borders, PSA has tons, which I just mentioned, power.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
You could give me the chance to at least take you through what's on my mind. So on the screen you see next to me, first of all, they charge you. They're going to charge you and make you wait for the card. All right, that seems like that was the service for a long time. And that seems pretty acceptable. That's what PSA does. Now, I also want to just throw out there, PSA in the past has changed grading standards. Again, PSA holds all the power. And they are free to do what they want, as I've been told by other talking heads. They also now have this buyback program. And before we go deeper in the buyback program, this was written back last year, November 2024. So this has changed quite a bit, and it's expanded. And now if you buy from eBay, you can do it from the PSA eBay store. I believe, no, it's from your app, the PSA app. Months after introducing the ability to sell vaulted cards directly, PSA has announced a new program which sells broker cards, announced by Nat Turner. According to PSA website, it serves to provide fast liquidity for collectors and needed inventory for hobby partners. Now, what I want to know is, who are the hobby partners? According to PSA, cards sold through the program will exclusively be purchased by members of the PSA partner network. Who is that? And if you're commissioning the deal, PSA is taking, I would assume, a percentage. And on top of that, PSA now has their own eBay store, and they're consigning. So if PSA is now consigning, they're making money off the consignment. So PSA has decided, this third party that's a grading company that's real integral, that's respected, they've now decided in the past 6 months to a year, or maybe a little more than that, to there's a lot of money on the sale side right now. We need to make sure we capture all these different markets. And it seems, you don't have to say it's a conflict of interest. It doesn't have to mean anything shady's happened. But when there's different points pulling, it's a system that's created not of balance, not of checks and balances. And furthermore, PSA owns the PSA vault officially on eBay. They've now come out with the graded grail product, where they're dabbling in licensed mystery packs, or whatever you want to call their graded grail.
I made a tremendous amount of money. Tremendous amount. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even believe it myself. You want to know the truth? I don't even believe it.
There's a lot there. What once was a grading company, they're going to grade your card. That's what PSA does. They're a third party. They're supposed to be non-biased. But because of this is all, so whether you think it's right or wrong, it's all brand new. I think it's worthy to have the conversation, or at least talk about. PSA also bought Card Ladder, and I don't know if I don't see how that leads anything nefarious, but they have all the data at their disposal. PSA earlier, about a year ago, thereabouts, maybe a little more, bought SGC. Takeover, and you can see their numbers from this week, all of their numbers. Last week, PSA graded 413,000, CGC 125,000, Beckett 23,000, and SGC is dying out at 10,000. Beckett has more than double. That's not a good sign. CGC has more than 10x, 11x.
Man, I'm dead.
And because they can, that's kind of trickling into other forms in the world. So the Las Vegas Strip faces a massive problem it created. And basically they're saying, drinks are $25 and hotel rates are expensive. And now, less people are making a decision to come to Vegas, or certain people have definitely got priced out. It's not best for the consumer. Let's put it that way. What's going on? You're no longer getting the free drink tickets. You're no longer getting as many drinks when you're sitting down. It no longer feels catered to you. And that's a society thing. It's not just what PSA doing. This is society. And the NBA recently just closed on a $76 billion with a B billion-dollar deal, but that doesn't mean it's good for the overall consumer. Now, this deal is 11 years, $76 billion. It's $7 billion per year. That's about 2.6x increase of what it was. If we look here, here's what it is. I think you could see that NBA was here at $2.7 billion. That ended, and now it's at $7 billion a year. For NBA, which seems like who the hell? I'm an NBA fanatic, and it's hard to watch regular season NBA. This is how you have to watch it, by the way. Walt Disney, which I believe is ESPN, is going to have 80 games on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They'll also get Christmas. NBC will get 100 games Monday, Tuesday, Sunday. If this isn't confusing enough, Amazon Prime Video. Well, if you want to watch NBA Thursday, after Thursday Night Football is over, it's going to be NBA, when football's done with the season. So this is not best. Because they can, doesn't mean it's best for the consumer, and the consumer can't be a little frustrated. Here's something we'll get into later. So, okay, I thought I had one more thing here. Didn't I? No. I'd also add WWE to that list right now. So, okay, now oh my gosh, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but the PSA upcharge to me is like if the appraiser on a house also owned the insurance company. Do I have more on that? Yeah, an appraiser's job, we'll get into Dan the Cardman's video because he did a great job. The appraiser's job is to determine value objectively. All right, just like PSA's job is to grade a card objectively. Now, if that same appraiser also owns the insurance company, well, now they could profit from how high or low the appraisal comes in. Just like PSA. And you could say, well, they're doing it on the up and up. That's fine. It still leaves room for things to be weird. It still leaves room. I mean, this is not a good thing you'd want. On top of that, imagine the same appraiser also runs a real estate site, and your home sells on this real estate site, hence eBay Vault or Golden Auction, or however that's working. I think eBay got Golden Auction and PSA picked up the eBay Vault. It takes a small percentage of every sale you sold on that platform. So that is what PSA's introduced. That's what PSA's put into the market over the past few months. And I do want to step backwards because Dan the Cardman really did make a great video here. And, he was, and basically all of us missed this, not all of us, because we listened to Nat Turner's interview with Neo, and Nat Turner mentioned a couple things. One, he mentioned it adds value to the card. Kind of a weak answer. And his other answer is it's a lifetime guarantee. If that card's fake and it's sold and you need, you find it's fake, we'll buy it back from you. And he kind of broke down this page right here. If you want to see more, you haven't seen it, go check out Dan the Cardman's video. He does a really good job. So the insurance is not only to mail it to, that's a little of it. It's more for the lifetime insurance, but according to Nat Turner as well, it's also for the value added, not just the insurance. And Dan makes another great point in his video, and you probably can't see this here, but lifetime cap of $500,000. So if you're a big dog that has, $3 million you found worth of fake PSA cards, well, they're not going to give you $3 million back in insurance claims. They're going to give you $500,000. So yeah, that big chunk of change. We just saw Jeff Wilson put out that email of he got upcharged $4,000, lifetime. You're only going to get $500,000. And Dan does a much better job of breaking everything down and his issues and how he'd solve the problem or what he would do if it was in his shoes.
It's really frustrating when so many talking heads are doing that. And they talk like they know how the hobby works, and they talk like they know how these businesses work. Yet in reality, the real issue is there, clear as day, and nobody talks about it. Because guess what, guys? These people don't know what they're talking about. And I'm not saying I do because of what I do for a living, but I'm, applying critical thinking when I'm seeing these kinds of things. People just talk for the sake of talking. They think because they have a platform and they've got, 10, 15, 20, 30, 100,000 subscribers that they're somebody of importance. They're not. They're just your average Joe collectors that got a voice because they decided to make a YouTube channel during the boom. People need to remember that, right? They're just talking heads. And it goes to things I've talked about in the past. Do the exact same thing with me. I'm not saying what I say is gospel. I'm not saying what I'm saying is correct. I'm saying listen to everybody, form your own bloody opinion, and then make up your own mind, right?
And here we'll hear real quick from Nat Turner himself. This is with Neo explaining the upcharge.
Yeah, I mean, look, businesses, you have a choice. You can price based on your cost, or you can price based on the value you create. And most businesses are the latter. PSA is no different. But I would argue the biggest reason is the value pricing. I mean, if you have just to put a extreme example on it, if you have a raw Honus Wagner card, is that card worth more raw or in a PSA 2 holder? And the answer is the latter. So, I feel it's very, transparent and deserved and not just us, for any company that creates value for an asset to, be compensated for that value.
And I want to mention, I have other issues in the world that I consider a conflict of interest. I found this bias found when drug manufacturers fund clinical trials. So should the psychiatric drugs are reported to be about 50% more effective in clinical trials funded by drug manufacturers. So they're funding their own tests. They're funding their own trial. That's a bit fishy. And he's saying 50% more of the time it's more effective. This is according to research, and this is the Ohio State. And then we have, lobbying in politics. Come on, that's ridiculous. It doesn't mean it's right. They do it because they can. It does not mean it's right. How a company called BlackRock shapes your news, your life, and our future. And I just want to show you this. BlackRock owns 18% of Fox, between BlackRock and Vanguard, 16% of CBS, 13% of Comcast, 12% of CNN, 12% of Disney. I mean, and the University of Texas at Austin, it breaks it down right here for you of who you scroll down, who owns what. So 8% is Vanguard. This is the Walt Disney Company, top shareholders on the cable nightly network news. So I'm not going to get to it. Harvard did the same thing. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's odd if it doesn't make you scratch your head, if it's not like, oh, that's kind of fishy that they own the news companies. I don't know these are issues I have. And just because they're big enough and powerful enough to do these things, it doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean there should at least be a conversation, especially when PSA has just introduced this in recent history. Another conflict of interest I find, and I've said this for a long time, is sports card media companies who also own sports card businesses. And it's fine. Hey, we say when something's bad, we say when something's good. It's still a slight conflict of interest when you're selling sports cards and you have a shop, or you're breaking, or you're making a living off buying and selling, or an income. Then when you're also presenting yourself as the journalist or the media, I find it to be an odd spot that you're in, no matter how earnest and genuine you are, because that's like if, it's not like if newspapers are owned by certain people, and you know what, or certain people that own other companies, and that could lead to biased news. That's just how it is. And so in closing, the most powerful company in the hobby right now is PSA, and they're looking for max monetization. That's what they've shown me over this 6 months to a year or a little bit more of what they're doing. And they're taking over SGC, the biggest competition in sports cards, and it's coming close to what is crossing some lines. That, and you say how you want to say. I think I've respected PSA. I've used PSA. I'm currently a PSA member. And if I had to pick one company to send my card to, I'd probably send it. I would send them to PSA. They have you in a corner here. They're the most powerful company in sports cards. And so PSA, you are the leader in the space. You hold all the leverage going into the near future. And all I say is that with great power comes great responsibility.
Don't make me come down there, you punk.
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you have not. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.
What up, everybody? This is Robert Ory, a.k.a. Big Shot Bob, and you're watching Professional Sports Cards. Hey, by the way, go buy my rookie card.